Welcome back to the Morning Mindset. Boy, I know that yesterday I opened a big old can of worms, and I'm hoping we can sort it out in the 5 minutes we have together today. We started talking about the injuries that we experience in life at the hands of other people. And if we really want to be like Jesus, life is going to include some of those things, isn't it? I mean, think about how his life ended up. He received the ultimate injuries at the hands of people. Even his own friends, his close associates who betrayed him and denied him and ran away in his time of need. You see, we sterilize the accounts and situation that Jesus went through sometimes. In our own minds, we make it seem more of a religious thing, more of this hyper-spiritual thing, when in reality, Jesus, though he was God, was a human being just like us, and he suffered the injustices that we do at the hands of other people. Everything he suffered was the same kind of experiences we go through, and he did so for our sake. And our question is, what do you do with those things? How do you manage to get past it? Because resentment builds up, bad feelings build up, hurt builds up. How do you get beyond it? How do you live a life that's free of bitterness and resentment and pain? Well, Peter tells us here, he tells us we do so by being like Jesus. And that's not just a religious trite phrase. That really is the answer. And he's going to be very specific. And I got into this yesterday, where he says, even though Jesus committed no sin, this is verse 22 of 1 Peter chapter 2, even though he committed no sin and no deceit was found in his mouth, here's what he did. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. You see, rather than retaliating, rather than getting angry, rather than spitting back at those who were spitting at him, he entrusted himself to the Father who judges justly. Now, that last phrase is not just tacked on as a nice little description of who God is. It's tacked on to give us context for why this action of entrusting ourselves to God really matters. It's because he is the judge. He's the judge of all history, of all creation, of every word and every action that has ever been spoken or done in the history of all humanity. So as the judge, he is responsible to make judgment on all of those things. And what kind of judgment should we be considering he is going to dole out? It's going to be righteous judgment. It's going to be exactly appropriate for the offense or the good deed, isn't it? God being judge means judgment will happen perfectly one day. And Jesus, when he was being reviled and mistreated, he understood that and he entrusted himself to God's wise judgment about this situation. So let's take it out of Jesus' context for a moment and put it into ours. If we're in a situation where we're being mistreated, or perhaps we have been mistreated and it echoes in our minds and reverberates in our hearts over and over and over, we need to entrust ourselves to the care of the righteous judge. And we need to say to ourselves, if God deems this is best for me and is the best way I can serve him in this life, then so be it. I entrust myself to him. My friends, is that hard for you to swallow? Is it hard for you to put your faith in God in practical places like this where it really matters? Because you see, this is not about forgiveness. It's not about saying, oh, I forgive that person. No. This is about saying, I will let God judge this person. And I, like Jesus, will not revile in return. I will instead trust that my Father has this. And he's going to do right eventually. He may do that by extending his grace to the offender through Jesus Christ and forgiving them of their sin. And he may do it by holding them to account for their sin at the end of their lives. My friends, this is a huge topic. My prayer is that this will work a miracle in your life.